Hello, Asterisk Series World Asterisk fans. In this video, we're diving into the trailers to analyze what might happen in episode 44. This is part 4 of our ongoing breakdown, based entirely on clues from the released promos. It's nighttime at the village house, where Ateş and Mercan are staying. Suddenly, the power goes out, not just in their house, but across the entire area. The unexpected blackout makes Mercan a little uneasy, but Ateş lightens the mood, saying, "Come on, let's play shadow puppets by the fireplace." The two begin creating fun shapes with their hands, turning the tense moment into something playful and warm. A few minutes later, the electricity comes back, but only briefly. Soon after, Ateş and Mercan head to their room to sleep. As they lie together, holding each other close, they share a peaceful, heartfelt moment. Mercan softly says, "When I rest my head on your chest, I feel so calm." Ateş replies, "I'm in a warm bed with the woman I love beside me. Right now, I feel at peace too." Mercan reflects on their day and says, "We worked so hard on this house today. I think we could actually live here." But their happiness doesn't last long. Rain begins pouring outside, and suddenly, water starts leaking through the roof, right above their bed. Drops fall rapidly, forcing them to jump up. Ateş sighs, "I had this roof repaired before, what terrible luck." They rush to grab buckets, but the leaks are too many. Even the ceiling in the larger room starts dripping. Exhausted, Ateş and Mercan place buckets wherever they can and eventually lie down on the floor, holding each other as they fall asleep. Morning arrives, and the two wake up tired but determined. Ateş says, "This can't go on. The first thing we need to do is fix the roof." But Mercan, now reconsidering things, responds, "We don't have to live here all the time. We can just come back once in a while." It's clear she's starting to give up on the idea of village life. Ateş, slightly amused, reminds her that he had warned her she wouldn't be able to handle it. Mercan admits he was right but tells him not to get too confident. "I'll make breakfast," she says, "and then we'll head back." She also adds, "Life is for both of us, so you're helping me clean up too." Meanwhile, back at the mansion, a new development unfolds. Early in the morning, Asli packs her suitcase and prepares to leave. Muzian, sitting in the main hall with her coffee, is shocked to see her daughter ready to go. She asks, "Where are you going?" Looking distant and upset, Asli turns to her mother and begins to respond. "You told me to leave, so I'm leaving," Asli said, her voice cold and distant, yet carrying a quiet pain beneath the surface. Muzian looked at her daughter with concern, trying to soften the situation. "Trust me," she said gently. "Everything will be all right. You just need to be patient." But her words didn't reach Asli the way she had hoped. Asli's expression remained distant, her eyes filled with disappointment and resentment. She no longer trusted her mother's reassurances. At that very moment, Seml entered the room and noticed the tension between them. His gaze shifted to Asli and the suitcase beside her. Without hesitation, Asli spoke firmly, "I'm leaving the mansion." Seml barely reacted. With an almost indifferent tone, he simply said, "Goodbye." That single word cut deeper than anything else. Asli had expected, at the very least, a hint of concern, a question, or even a moment of hesitation. But instead, she was met with cold indifference. In that moment, she realized something painful. To Seml, she meant nothing. She was no longer someone worth fighting for or even thinking about. Asli stood there for a second longer, hoping, perhaps foolishly, that someone would stop her. But no one did. The silence in the room confirmed what she had already begun to feel: she didn't belong there anymore. As she walked out of the mansion, dragging her suitcase behind her, her face reflected a mix of anger, heartbreak, and humiliation. But beneath all of that, something darker was forming, a quiet determination. In her mind, she made a promise to herself: "One day, I'll come back, and when I do, you'll all pay for what you've done to me." Rejected and alone, Asli stepped out into a new chapter, but her story was far from over. Meanwhile, in a completely different setting, Barak went to visit his father, Haydar, in prison. The cold, lifeless atmosphere of the prison walls mirrored the tension between them. The moment Haydar saw his son, his expression hardened with anger. "Why did you come here?" he snapped, clearly not pleased to see him. Barak remained calm, though there was a quiet storm inside him. I came to see you, he replied, trying to keep the conversation from escalating too quickly. Haydar let out a bitter laugh. After meeting you, I thought maybe, just maybe, we could make up for lost time, he said with sarcasm. I thought we could finally be father and son. But you, his voice sharpened, you turned out to be a traitor. His words were harsh and unforgiving. You sold your own father like he was nothing, like merchandise. Barak's patience began to wear thin. He looked straight into his father's eyes and responded firmly, we never had a real father-son relationship. And we never will. There was no hesitation in his voice anymore. Years of bottled-up emotions finally surfaced. You never saw me as your son, Barak continued. I was just a tool to you. Someone you could use whenever it suited you. You never cared about me, you only cared about what I could do for you. He paused, his voice growing stronger with every word. And I want you to know something clearly. I will never set a trap for Etz. Barak went on to explain how Etz had already discovered the truth about the shipping scheme. He was actually happy, Barak said, because he finally found his father. But even he has never seen someone as selfish, as self-serving, and as manipulative as you. Haydar's expression darkened, but Barak didn't stop. Your goal was never to love me. It was always to use me. For a moment, there was silence between them, heavy and suffocating. Then Haydar spoke again, his voice filled with bitterness. I wish I didn't have a son like you, he said coldly. Yes, I used you. But don't fool yourself, Etz is using you too. He leaned slightly forward, his tone turning almost threatening. If I were you, I wouldn't trust him. With that, Haydar turned and walked away, leaving Barak standing there alone. Barak had come hoping for something, maybe closure, maybe a small sign of regret, maybe even a chance to rebuild something. But instead, he was left with nothing but disappointment. There was regret in his eyes, but it wasn't shared. The distance between father and son had only grown wider. About an hour later, the mood shifts to something softer and more emotional. Seml and Demet meet at the beach, away from all the tension and chaos. The sound of the waves and the calm atmosphere create a completely different feeling. They exchange small gifts, simple yet meaningful gestures that speak louder than words. Every time Seml looks at Demet, there's something different in his eyes now. Something he hadn't fully understood before. His heart begins to race in a way that feels unfamiliar yet comforting. For the first time, Seml is starting to truly understand what love feels like, not obsession, not control, but something genuine and pure.